Welcome back to Cinemaflix Music Picks. I'm Dave, your host with the most, the beast with the least. Least I can do today is say happy 2023 and welcome to day one of our month countdown of my favourite albums of 2022, the year that was. Don't worry about the order until we get to say the top five. Consider everything joint sixth, because how can you measure things against each other? My mind doesn't work that way. So it's just 31 of my favourites, but certainly there will be some at the very, very, very top. But consider everything else joint sixth. So coming in at joint sixth is Bruce Springsteen's Only the Strong Survive, his covers record, his soul album from this year. 3 sides of wax here, 15 tracks. Some people thought it was a bit weird that Bruce was doing a soul covers record, or indeed a covers record in general. Makes sense to me. He's been doing them since Steel Mill and the Castles, and Stump the Band sections on East Street shows have featured hundreds of soul tracks along the years, and he's written soul songs, and yeah, he's been on Sam Moore's album. Makes perfect sense to me. So when Bruce announced it, I was a little bit surprised, because it's not that long since we had, Letter to You and 2 Western Stars projects. So he's really all over the place at the moment. He's having a real wonderful kind of resurgence of creativity these past few years, where he's restless in his kind of pursuit of what's next. He's not just resting on his laurels, which I'm really enjoying. And our hero here, as he has been on quite a few recent Bruce projects, is Ron Aniello, who, especially like he did on Western Stars, has just, the production. It was always going to rely on the production and arrangements of this album, because you can say I'm doing a soul covers record, announce the track listing, and people can hear it in their head, because they know what Becomes the Broken Hearted sounds like. So what are you going to do to make your version stand out from Jimmy Ruffins? What are you going to do to make your version worth it for soul fans, for Bruce fans, and make it more worthwhile to make a whole project to that kind of stuff? Well, Bruce and Ron obviously are massive soul fans, but they have a perfect idea in terms of, we can't cover them too tightly, or we can't cover them too loosely, so we have to find that, that Goldilocks happy medium just right for the 3 bears. And they do. They find this wonderful sweet spot where it all sounds of a piece. It all sounds like a songbook arranged like you would, someone putting together the George Gershwin songbook or something. If you were doing that and you had one conductor doing that kind of thing, for Sinatra or somebody, or for Ella or for Louis, it's got that kind of vibe to it where everything sounds of a piece, even though they are covers from different artists and different labels, different time periods. It's mostly Motown and Stax from the 60s, but it does go up to the 80s. But it's, so we're talking, about 25 years worth of American music, and spanning, probably, I'd say almost all these are Motown or Stax, just looking off the top of my head. But wonderful curation. So that was also going to be a worry. Will all these songs flow together? Looking at it, I was a bit worried about something at the start, but we'll go into a few favourites. Only the Strong Survive, a great song by Jerry Butler, also covered as the opening track from Elvis in Memphis by Elvis Presley, is the opening track here as well. And that was going to be a litmus test, because that's done in a kind of African-American voice by Jerry Butler. Obviously it was an African-American, but he literally uses his speaking voice to do a spoken word intro, and Elvis copied that, doing I remember my first love affair, my mother gave me some advice. She said, boy, you wouldn't want a white man in 2022 to impersonate a black mother, so I don't think Bruce's mother was African American. In fact, she wasn't. I've seen her dancing with So that was going to be the litmus test of if he can reinterpret Only the Strong Survive, then he can reinterpret any one of these tracks. And how does he do it? Perfectly is the answer. He takes the spoken word introduction, still does it, but he takes out the parts that are too, it would almost be cultural appropriation, bordering on racist to do sections. He takes those and can just tones the language down a little bit to make it more suitable for what he would say. And, so instead of like, somehow or other the whole damn thing went wrong, he would go, well, of course the whole thing went wrong, in a much more storyteller, Bruce-like fashion. It works perfectly. And then when the actual song hits in, my mother gave me some advice, put in the words of this song. She said, boy, oh, I see you sitting out there all alone, crying your eyes out. I was like, oh, this is good, I'm liking this, cause the woman that you love is gone. And then when it hits that's what she said, only the strong survive. I was like, wow, this is fantastic. He's putting the onus on only the strong survive, whereas the original and Elvis's version is only the strong survive. So he's putting the onus on one word, only, which just gives it a different tone. It's like just a smart decision, just one little tiny change to kind of change up the whole tone of the chorus, because it is a very simple chorus, as a lot of these tracks are, especially the next one, Soul Days, with Sam Moore from Sam and Dave guesting, bless him, at the age of 87. Talking about Soul Days by Dobie Gray. So again, reinvents it, but keeps it so that you go, oh wait a minute, I remember that song. Just enough. And it also has a wonderful mix of, I'd say, Soul Days by Dobie Gray. That's not a radio song anymore. What is a radio song, and probably most surprising choice of pick here, Night Shift by the Commodores. And I love Night Shift. It's my favourite Commodores track. People don't believe me, but look, I've got the LP. That I think the Commodores were better after Lionel left. Sue me. Please don't sue me, Lionel. Actually, fuck it. Bring it on if you think you're hard enough. Was that going to work? Because that's a very personal song about their relationship with Jackie Wilson and their relationship with Marvin Gaye. Yes, it does work, because Bruce interprets it as our relationship with Jackie Wilson and our relationship with Marvin Gaye. So it keeps the melodies and it keeps the vibe, but it has a much bigger arrangement. It loses a bit of the sadness of this, which is just after Marvin had died and Jackie's horrible. Jackie's last years were horrendous, but so it loses a lot of the melancholy, because that was just fresh when that album came out, and it turns it into a more celebratory kind of celebratory celebration of Marvin and of Jackie Wilson, and it's a lovely version of a great track. Do I Love You, Frank Wilson's wonderful song. Do I love you? Do I love you? Indeed I do. Wonderful run out for that. Again, that's a bit more of an obscure song, but it's just a wonderful sing-along track. There are sing-along, there's people singing along with him. He's got backing vocalists to help him on parts where he wants to do a back and forth or have a bigger sound. And they are, let's see, I thought they'd be credited as, they're just credited on the individual tracks. Suze Terrell, obviously, Lisa Lowell. They seem to be pretty much Curtis King, Fonzie Thornton, Dennis Collins. Those seem to be the main backing singers. And Suze Terrell's obviously been with him for years, and the horn section are billed as the E Street Horns, so we can count this as a kind of E Street album, even if it's not the E Street Band. So Do I Love You uses the backing vocals so well to turn into a Colin Response party song. It's wonderful. The Sun Ain't Gonna Shine Anymore, that was that was very cool for me to hear him doing that, because for those unaware, The Sun Ain't Gonna Shine Anymore was covered on Hero by Clarence Clemens, which is that one there. So, and there's the big man with Bruce there. So it's interesting to imagine that, and it's very much the Walker Brothers version that they're doing here, not the original by Frankie Valli. It'd be interesting to imagine now that I've heard Clarence covering it and I've heard Bruce covering it. I can imagine them sitting listening to it together now and just, well, that's right. Yeah, me too. And how wonderful that we can listen to them both doing their own versions. Decades apart, now that we've lost the big man, it almost felt like a tribute to Clarence, in a way. It felt that way. I wonder if Bruce was thinking about, including that because he also knew Clarence did it, or it was going to be on there anyway. That's just a terrific version of the Walker Brothers. Again, a little bit of worry at first. How's he going to live up to Scott Walker's insane vocals on that track? But I can't come up with his own insane vocals. That's how. Fantastic stuff. It's just the right side of slick. Nothing's too overproduced. Nothing's too fancy. Nothing's too, oh gosh, that sounds auto-tune. It's all vibrant. It's all alive. It's all moving. It's all rocking, even when it's not rock and rolling. It's moving. Other tracks, I'm not going to go through them all, but Hey Western Union Man's another stomper from Jerry Butler. Don't Play That Song, written by Betty Nilsson and Armand Ertegun. He's very much doing the Benny King version, which is my favourite version. He's not doing the Aretha one. And what a version. Wow. That ends side B. And when he's doing the Don't Play It No More. No. I was like, oh, this is getting more. I'm getting into this, but how's he going to do the chorus? Oh no, don't let it play. It fills my heart with pain. I was like, this is fantastic. It's really getting me. And this is all in my first lesson, the first time I heard it. And then when the backing singers come in to do the chorus with him, when it gets to the darling, I love you. You know that you're lying. Darling, I love you. You know that you lied. You lied. You lie. Boom, boom, boom. Oh, fantastic. Then there's I Forgot to Be Your Lover, a great William Bell track, and in fact, Any Other Way, which William Bell also wrote. One of my favourites, Seven Rooms of Gloom by the Four Tops. From the great album Reach Out, one of the great soul albums of all time, so underrated. Seven Rooms of Gloom. Again, you're living up to a singer like Levi Stubbs from the Four Tops, you better be on your point. And Seven Rooms of Gloom, if you don't know it, again starts with a kind of spoken word intro, though it's more of a holler, with the backing singers going, 7 rooms, while the lead singer goes, I see a house of stone, a lonely house, and you've been gone, it's kind of carrying on that way. And then hits him with this, in the Four Top version, a kind of harpsichord. I think it is a harpsichord actually. But this version is done with a guitar going boom, 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 boom. It's just fantastic stuff with Bruce doing the, 7 rooms, that's all it is. I live with emptiness without your tenderness. It's just wow. What Becomes the Broken Hearted? Everybody knows that song. Very faithful version of the Jimmy Ruffin classic. It's almost anthemic the way Bruce does it. I mean, you can, I can imagine people in the stadiums getting lighters out for a Jimmy Ruffin song of all things. But yeah, the way he does it, it still keeps the arrangement, but it just tweaks it a little bit to give it just a little bit more oomph, a little bit more of a full sound. So when we get to the What becomes of the broken hearted? It just, it's got a much fuller sound when it goes, who had love that now departed? I know I've got to find some kind of... It's more percussive the way that it's arranged to kind of give Bruce's vocals something to do, because he's not as versatile vocally as some of the great soul singers, and he's getting on a little bit, just a little bit, Bruce, and then ending with Someday We'll Be Together, gorgeous version of that, which is fun because he's got his own song called Someday We'll Be Together. So it makes you wonder if he wrote his own song with that song's title in mind, thinking it'd be fun to kind of steal that and use it. So yeah, this one's been a bit more of a rambly day one, but it's Bruce Springsteen. I had to set down the rules of the game, the règle du jeu, by talking about don't worry about the order, and blah 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 blah. So future videos will be more concise. I'm going to aim, I know this one's been 15 minutes, I'm going to try and make them between 5 and 10, depending on the artist and the album and the backstory. If it's just, this is a good album, I'm probably going to be closer to 5 minutes. If it's something like this, where it's an artist I've got so much history with, maybe an hour long. Anyway, thank you very much for watching day one. Once again, happy 2023 and cheerio and piss off 2022. Do me a favour though, stay safe out there, for me. Love and mercy, my dears. Love and mercy.